by Okada Tetsuya, translated by Jacob Fox. It's called the Sea of Trees, Aokigahara, a forest on the base of Mount Fuji. It has lately been known as a suicide forest due to the unusual amount of suicides that take place there. But in Japan, we don't think of it solely in those terms. Aokigahara is thought to be possessed of spirits of the dead. I actively practice Shinto. I believe in kami, and I believe in yurei. Yurei are the spirits of the dead who have not properly been sent to be with their ancestors. And of course, with a high number of suicides in that forest, I would believe that many spirits of those inhabit the forest. When I went to the forest, I went alone. I wanted to experience it for myself. There were, of course, signs on the forest that warned hikers to think about their families and to not commit suicide. I wasn't there for that reason, though. After I was deep enough in the forest, I decided to go off trail. I figured that would be the best way to creep myself out. I of course brought some tape to mark my trail. I've heard too many stories about people getting lost in the forest. Aokigahara has not really been farmed, so it's very dense. The off-trail floor was covered with moss and small plants, and it was strangely quiet. I heard that's because the ground is hardened lava, and it absorbs sound. I really can't even explain what it was like. It was so quiet that whenever there was a sound, it was very pronounced. I felt so alone. I felt overwhelmed by loneliness and solitude. Walking around that forest, I honestly felt like I was the only person in the entire world. It was like the forest swallowed me whole. Even though I felt very alone, I also felt like I was constantly being watched by someone or something. Either the forest had eyes, or something in it had eyes. What is scary to me is that, even though I would never kill myself, I began to understand why people kill themselves in this forest. I'm not depressed, but I felt the complete solitude of this forest enveloping me. I felt trapped. I felt alone. I felt like there was absolutely no one in the entire world but me. If I was depressed, or if something else was wrong, I could completely understand why a person would come here to kill themselves. It seemed like it would be easy. When I decided to go back to the trail, I began hearing some noises as if someone else were walking in the forest with me. It was easy to hear the footsteps. I stopped several times, and when I did, the footfalls continued. There was definitely someone or something in the forest with me. This continued until I got back to the trail. The entire time, I could hear myself breathing deeply. I was definitely scared. But when I arrived back at the trail, the sound stopped. I'm not sure exactly what to think about my experience. I believe in yurei, and although I didn't see anything, I could have heard one following me. It also could have been someone in the forest taking a hike just like me, or it may have been somebody enveloped by the solitude who had come to the forest to take his own life. But I never saw anyone. Also, I guess it all could have been in my head. The atmosphere of the forest was so quiet and overwhelmingly scary that I could have just convinced myself that something was there. I left the forest and have never gone back. However, if you ever get to Japan, I still recommend you checking out Aokigahara. Yes, I was scared when I was in it. It was a singular experience, however. Even if there aren't ghosts in the woods, I think you will probably convince yourself that there are. But more than anything, The feeling of quiet and the solitude was more powerful there than anywhere I've ever been. But a warning: don't go if you're depressed, and maybe you shouldn't go alone. Also, if you go off trail, bring markers. You don't want to get lost in Rokigahala.